Direct from our newsroom in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Eric Seberide in Washington, Barry Seraphin in Washington, Marvin Kalb at the State Department, Richard C. Hotlett at the United Nations, Bert Quint in Calcutta, Ralph Rennick in Key Biscayne, and Bob Schieffer in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania.
Good evening. Government forces in East Pakistan surrendered today to India, bringing to an end 13 days of bitter fighting on that front. The end came quickly at a racetrack in Dhaka. There, General Niazi gave up the Pakistani armed forces in the east to Indian General Singh Arora. Niazi stripped off his epaulets and touched his forehead to Arora's, signifying subservience. There was rejoicing in the streets of Dhaka. In New Delhi, a cheering, table-thumping parliament heard Indian Prime Minister Gandhi proclaim East Pakistan a free country. She called it Bangladesh, the Bengal nation. Mrs. Gandhi also ordered a unilateral ceasefire in the West beginning tomorrow, but Pakistan's President Yahya Khan, in a nationwide broadcast, urged his people to be patient and said, "We will continue fighting not only in the front lines, but in the fields, factories, and homes." CBS News correspondent Bert Quint, who's been covering the war in the East, returned to Calcutta after today's surrender, and I talked with him by telephone. Did you get the impression that the Indian Army was pretty efficient and the Pakistani Army was not, or how would you compare this?
It wasn't so much a question of inefficiency of the Pakistani Army, Walter. It's just that they didn't have a chance from the start. Here were some 70 to 80,000 men in what amounted to a foreign country. East Pakistan is 1,300 air miles away from West Pakistan. The West Pakistanis who were flown over to put down the March uprising by the people favoring autonomy for East Pakistan were strangers. Not only were they strangers, they acted as an occupying force. They were terribly ruthless. These aren't just stories. These are things that we've seen ourselves. There were atrocities committed. So this was an occupying force, hated by the people who lived there, and the people were out to get them. And get them indeed they did in a good many cases. So here are these people, the West Pakistani soldiers, cut off from their main line of supply, surrounded by people who hated them and were out for revenge. And then along came the Indian Army, which is a pretty good army, and which terribly outnumbered and outgunned them. They simply didn't have a chance. What was interesting about this trip that we took from one end of East Pakistan to the capital was that it eliminated any doubts in my mind, at least, about what this war was all about. There had been talk by the Indians that they were in there to try to liberate the people. The Pakistanis were talking as though they were being attacked, as they were, of course. And what impressed me was all along the route of the Indian Army march, the way people turned out from little villages and greeted the Indian Army as friends, as brothers, as saviors. Now, this is not a thing that comes natural to people living in Pakistan, you know, because the Indians and the Pakistanis, even the Bengalis, have been enemies for a good many years. I'm afraid that a lot of bloodshed is going to come now that the war in East Pakistan technically is over, because of the great desire for revenge of the people of East Pakistan, and the fact that there are an awful lot of West Pakistani soldiers and civilian collaborators with the Pakistani Army there that are really in danger. In our trip up the river these last couple of days, we saw a few floating bodies, and villagers of the area told us that these were not individuals killed by war, but they were men killed after the Pakistani troops had pulled out of the area. Villagers, people who were out for revenge, killed them because they had either collaborated with the Pakistani Army or actually formed a part of it.
Did you get any information as to what the Indian Army may do or be willing to do to set up protection for the West Pakistani soldiers and the collaborator civilians?
Yes, the first step is that they're taking the West Pakistani soldiers and putting them in the military cantonment. But what was very impressive about today was the fact that they did not disarm them immediately. They left the West Pakistanis with their guns, not to protect them from the Indians, of course, but to protect them from East Pakistani Bengali citizens.
What about the Indian soldiers and their attitude toward the Americans? You were traveling with them. Were they aware of the torment between our relations these days?
They're very much aware of it, and they do a bit of teasing and joking about it. You don't really feel a resentment, a terrible anti-Americanism. They seem a bit perplexed by it. They seem annoyed by it, and because of it, because of the fact that the 7th Fleet is reportedly on its way, they were anxious to get the job done, their job being to take Dhaka and win over East Pakistan in order to give it to the Bangladesh government, and, by the way, take it away from India's old enemy, Pakistan.
Quint reported seeing fewer casualties, civilian or military, than he expected, and noted that the Indian forces tried to avoid population centers in their bombing and artillery strikes. He also visited the neutral Intercontinental Hotel in Dhaka and said the American refugees there seemed in good shape. Mrs. Gandhi, in a note to President Nixon, has charged that America and other world powers could have prevented this war by exerting their influence to gain the release of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Sheikh Mujib is the popular East Pakistani leader who was arrested last March and imprisoned in West Pakistan. Some say he may be dead. Dan Rather reports from the Florida White House that sources are describing Mr. Nixon as disgusted that Mrs. Gandhi would attempt to blame others for the war. News Secretary Ziegler was instructed to tell newsmen that you don't prevent war by rolling out tanks and weapons. Rather also says the White House is still offering 7th Fleet ships in the Bay of Bengal if India wants to evacuate any Pakistanis, now technically prisoners. In an interview on the CBS Morning News, Pakistan Foreign Minister Bhutto said America and Communist China would probably be called on for more aid to his beleaguered country.
We believe the United States people and the United States government have tried their best to assist us. I have no complaints on that score, but if the fighting continues, I think not only the United States but China will have to take much more cognizance of it.
But China appears not to be in a position to help you at all. The Himalayas passes are shut now with the winter snow. It has no long-range airlift. Isn't it vain to expect help from that quarter?
The snow doesn't last for all times. And as I said, our dispute will continue if India wants to rub our nose to the ground. We cannot allow that to happen.
Is it proper to assume that you, as a potential ruler of West Pakistan, are prepared to ask the United States and or China for military assistance, including troops?
American troops we do not want. American troops should not leave their shores, not only for Pakistan, for other countries. We fight our own war, but assistance, moral, political, and others, we are prepared to seek. If they give it to us, we'll be grateful. If they don't give it to us, we'll understand.
At midday, India's Foreign Minister Swaran Singh informed the Security Council of decisions in New Delhi and an entirely new state of affairs between India and Pakistan.
This is, Mr. President, the information that I would like to convey to the Council. In a nutshell, the fighting in Bangladesh has already stopped, and on the West, unilaterally, Prime Minister of India has issued orders to stop fighting effective from 10:30 a.m. on December 17.
Cranberry juice cocktail for breakfast? Ocean Spray Cranberry Juice Cocktail is a great tasting way to give your family vitamin C.
I some more cranberry juice cocktail every day.
It's breakfast, man, breakfast.
For years, my favorite drink was orange juice. But cranberry juice cocktail is a smashing new taste.
Everybody's drinking it at breakfast.
Out of sight.
Ocean Spray Cranberry Juice Cocktail, the other breakfast drink. In single servings, too.
As soon as the 7% excise tax was removed, Ed Butler decided to get rid of his old car and find himself a bargain. So he got himself a good deal on his old Volkswagen and picked up a new car with great gas mileage, the same great reliability, but no excise tax. Which only goes to prove that a Volkswagen saves you money going or coming. Sedan 111 suggested retail price, POE, local taxes, and other dealer delivery charges, if any, additional.
Cuba today called the Miami-based cargo ship it seized yesterday a pirate ship and vowed to seize any other ships carrying out crimes, as they said, against Cuba. Cuban gunboats attacked the Johnny Express, a ship with Panamanian registry, wounding the captain and other crewmen, and towed it into port yesterday. At Key Biscayne today, the White House called the seizure deplorable and demanded the immediate release of the captain, Jose Villa, a naturalized American citizen. That came after a morning appeal to President Nixon by the captain's wife and her 3 children. Ralph Rennick of Miami's WTVJ reports.
Family of Jose Villa, the captain of the Johnny Express, went to the Key Biscayne White House today to plead with President Nixon for help in obtaining the release of their wounded father. Villa was the only American citizen on board the captured freighter. 21-year-old Isabel Villa spoke for the family at the entrance to the Nixon compound.
The Villa family. You remember, I don't know if you read the paper, the catastrophe that happened with my father. He's American, and we're desperate. He was injured in 3 places, and we went to see if the president could bring him back.
A note was sent inside to Mr. Nixon asking for his help. To the surprise of the family, a short time later, they were taken inside to see him. When they came out after a 16-minute meeting with the president, their joy was evident.
Yes.
Isabel, did you get to talk to the president?
Yes.
What did he say?
We're very, very happy.
What did he tell you?
He will do his best.
Did you see the president personally?
Yes, we did.
Did he tell us anything about what he said?
No. All I can tell you is that we're very, very happy.
It is not clear what the United States government can do to secure the release of the Johnny Express, its captain, and its crew from the Cuban government. This is Ralph Rennick, Key Biscayne, Florida.
A federal commission on medical malpractice heard claims today that at least 10,000 Americans die every year as a result of unnecessary surgery. Dr. Sidney Wolf, a general practitioner associated with Ralph Nader, said he got that figure from a recent book, but he personally feels the figure is too conservative. Wolf said the book claims 2 million unnecessary operations are performed each year. The American Medical Association said it had no comment today on Dr. Wolf's figures, but an AMA spokesman told the commission that it too views the problem of malpractice as a serious one. Dr. Arthur Manick said that fear of malpractice suits inspires many doctors to order unnecessary tests and thus contributes to the high cost of medical care. A Senate subcommittee continuing hearings into barbiturate abuse yesterday heard testimony that the pills commonly used as sleeping pills by adults have become a major drug menace to the young because they're so easily available. Today, the American Medical Association denied that doctors are too free in prescribing barbiturates. The AMA said it opposes any new restrictions on the prescription of the highly addictive drugs, saying that would be a disservice to patients who need them. Another Senate subcommittee has been considering whether the government should stop encouraging the killing of such farm and ranch predators as the coyote. There has been testimony it faces extinction. But today, a spokesman for Western sheep ranchers said that to the contrary, the coyote population has grown in recent years. And last year in Wyoming alone, coyotes killed 95,000 sheep and lambs worth $2 million.
For every car in America, Texaco has great gasolines. Gasoline specially designed to help give every car better performance and for cleaner air. Gasolines with one of the most advanced additive packages in any gasoline you can buy. Whatever car you drive, you can trust Texaco to have the gasoline that's exactly right for you.
You can trust your car to the man who wears the star. The big, bright Texaco star.
2 American servicemen were killed last week in the fighting in Indochina. That equals the lowest figure since weekly death toll reports began almost 7 years ago. But 38 other GIs died of non-hostile causes, most of them victims of a helicopter crash that killed 34. 56 Americans were wounded last week. South Vietnamese combat deaths were put at 243, and the Allies reported killing 1,046 North Vietnamese and Viet Cong. After 106 witnesses in almost 4 months, the Army's last My Lai court-martial seems finally to be drawing to a close. A jury of 2 generals and 5 colonels today began deliberating the innocence or guilt of Colonel Orrin Henderson, the 6th and highest-ranking soldier to be tried in the '68 massacre. Henderson is charged with covering up the slaughter. If convicted, he could get 3 years in prison. Marianne Harbert, one of the 2 Americans released by Communist China this week, talked publicly today for the first time of her 3.5-year ordeal. In 1968, she and a friend, Gerald McLaughlin, were seized when their yacht strayed too close to the China coast. The Chinese have said McLaughlin later committed suicide. Bob Schieffer was on hand as Miss Harbert recounted some of her experiences.
Miss Harbert said she was kept incommunicado after refusing to make propaganda statements for the Chinese, but said she was not tortured and never placed in prison. Instead, she was kept under armed guard at a farm commune while the Chinese claimed her case was being investigated. Because her Chinese interpreters spoke with British accents, she said she picked up a similar inflection.
Yes, I was under house arrest. At the first year, for recreation or food or anything, it wasn't so good. But after that, they improved the diet, and I was allowed outside. I had animals. I could plant vegetables or something.
Who was there with you?
Do you find it all somewhat preposterous then that suddenly you're in the hands of the Chinese, as you say, you were merely going on a sale?
Yeah.
Did you think, perhaps you're in a dream world, one day you'd wake up and it wasn't true?
Well, actually, it's the opposite. That seemed very real, and it's here that seems to be the dream.
She will undergo more medical tests this week and hopes to be released from the hospital sometime before Christmas. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, Valley Forge, Pennsylvania.
New York's Governor Nelson Rockefeller has refused to grant a request from the state of Alabama that an escaped convict be returned there to finish a 21-year prison sentence. A spokesman for the American Civil Liberties Union called the action very rare. A legal aide to Alabama Governor George Wallace expressed his unhappiness by saying New York must like to have convicts from the South running loose. A spokesman for Rockefeller said 26-year-old James Harris, a convicted burglar, is now rehabilitated and, quote, "This is the middle of the Christmas season." The Dow Jones Industrials made another strong showing on the New York Stock Exchange. Volume was heavy, just under 21,100,000 shares. The average price per share rose 46 cents on the New York Exchange, 11 cents on the American.
Mrs. Dillon, why did you